Arise, O God, defend your cause. A maskil of Asaph, Psalm 74. O God, why do you cast us off forever? Why does your anger smoke against the sheep of your pasture? Remember your congregation, which you have purchased of old, which you have redeemed to be the tribe of your heritage. Remember Mount Zion, where you have dwelt. Direct your steps to the perpetual ruins. The enemy has destroyed everything in the sanctuary. Your foes have roared in the midst of your meeting place. They set up their own signs for signs. They were like those who swing axes in forests of trees, and all its carved wood they broke down with hatchets and hammers. They set your sanctuary on fire. They profaned the dwelling place of your name, bringing it down to the ground. They said to themselves, "We will utterly subdue them." They burned all the meeting places of God in the land. We do not see our signs. There is no longer any prophet, and there is none among us who knows how long. How long, O God, is the foe to scoff? Is the enemy to revile your name forever? Why do you hold back your hand, your right hand? Take it from the fold of your garment and destroy them. Yet God, my King, is from of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. You divided the sea by your might. You broke the heads of the sea monsters on the waters. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. You split open springs and brooks. You dried up ever-flowing streams. Yours is the day, yours also the night. You have established the heavenly lights and the sun. You have fixed all the boundaries of the earth. You have made summer and winter. Remember this, O Lord, how the enemy scoffs and a foolish people revile your name. Do not deliver the soul of your dove to the wild beasts. Do not forget the life of your poor forever. Have regard for the covenant, for the dark places of the land are full of the habitations of violence. Let not the downtrodden turn back in shame. Let the poor and needy praise your name. Arise, O God, defend your cause. Remember how the foolish scoff at you all the day. Do not forget the clamor of your foes, the uproar of those who rise against you, which goes up continually. Commentary for Psalm 74. Psalm 74 is a lament, a prayer expressing sorrow and questioning God's silence during a time of national catastrophe, most likely destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem by the Babylonians in 586 BC. The psalmist pleads for God to remember his people and his promises, reminds God of his past acts of creation and power, and asks him to vindicate his name against the enemy who has desecrated the sanctuary. Main themes and structure. A lament of destruction, verses 1 through 11. The psalm begins with the psalmist in despair, crying out to God and describing the horrific destruction of the sanctuary. The enemies have not only destroyed the temple, but have also defaced sacred objects and are mocking God. Recalling God's power, verses 12 through 17. The speaker then shifts to remembering God's mighty works from the past, such as dividing the sea, creating springs from rock, and establishing day and night. This is done to remind God of his power and to build hope that he can act again. A plea for intervention, verses 18 through 23. The psalm concludes with an earnest prayer for God to act. The psalmist asks God to remember his covenant and to save his people who are helpless and vulnerable, and to silence the enemies who are shaming God's name. Significance. Historical context. The psalm is widely believed to be a prayer written after the destruction of the temple by the Babylonians, but some scholars suggest it could also apply to the temple's desecration by Antiochus Epiphanes. A model for prayer. It serves as a model for how to pray in times of crisis, doubt, and despair, acknowledging both the pain of the present and the hope found in God's power and past faithfulness. human helplessness and divine power. The psalm highlights the helplessness of the people in the face of their enemies, but its central message is that God, the all-powerful Creator, is our only hope for salvation.